Are Christians crazy? That's what Eric Lyons over at World Video Bible School wants to know. And the answer is pretty clear. Yes. Yes, they are. But this video will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that theists, particularly Eric here, truly are insane. Strap into your love me jackets because this is going to be rough. Now, I get a fair bit of criticism from the religious and from the emotionally frail non-religious alike that we shouldn't be quite so mean to people of faith. Well, why not? I believe in calling a spade, and so long as I can back it up, I consider it fair game. Reality isn't mean. The truth isn't cruel. Reality is reality, whether you like what reality says or not. So we're going to apply that standard to Eric Lyons and see just how crazy he really is. I doubt he's going to like our conclusion. So let's get to it.
I freely admit that I believe a donkey spoke, an iron axe head floated, and a woman turned into a pillar of salt.
Which means that you're an idiot. I don't know if that makes you crazy or not. That's kind of up to a clinical diagnosis. But it does mean that you're just dumb. And that isn't insulting hyperbole. It's the definition of the term. The definition of idiot, according to the dictionary, is a foolish or stupid person. And Eric here absolutely qualifies. He's also delusional, which means, and I'll go to a different dictionary this time just to keep it interesting, a persistent, false, psychotic belief regarding the self or persons or objects outside of the self that is maintained despite indisputable evidence to the contrary. You, my friend, are nuts. Do something about it.
As certain as I am of my own existence, I'm convinced that water flowed from a rock, that a man's severed ear was immediately reattached with the touch of a hand, and that dead people have come back to life. I believe that a man spent 3 days inside of a sea creature and lived to tell about it. And yes, I believe a virgin gave birth to a son who became the savior of the world.
You're not doing yourself any favors. These are all insane things that the religious believe for emotional reasons, not for rational ones. They are clear and obvious delusions, which, to go back to the definition that I usually use, notes that delusions are typically a symptom of mental disorder. Yet you people don't care about any of that, do you? You embrace it because you don't care about the facts. You don't give a damn about reality. You only want to feel good to the exclusion of all else. And when that's pointed out to you, you don't care because you're not in it for the reals. You're only in it for the feels. And that's childish.
Atheists, agnostics, and skeptics often ridicule Christians who believe in the various miracles recorded in the Bible.
For good reason. Because those things cannot be independently verified with objective evidence to have ever happened in reality. That's really the gulf between the religious and the rational. The religious not only can't differentiate between fantasy and reality, after all, Eric here admits that he believes things for which he has no good reason to think ever happened, but when it's pointed out to them that they're out of their ever-freaking minds, they don't care. They wear it like a badge of honor. They are incapable of having any kind of rational, reasonable, intelligent discussion on the subject with anyone. They are children, as we've already shown around here. Just look at them talk. I have discussions with these loons all the time, and they have no rational response whatsoever when questioned. They expect faith to be enough, and they're simply wrong. But yeah, who cares about that, right?
We are said to believe in superstition rather than science, and in fairy tales rather than real facts.
And that's absolutely true. Because the Bible, whether you like it or not, is a book of mythology. So what is mythology? Let's just look at some synonyms. Folklore, legend, legendary, lore, myth, tradition. And you notice what's nowhere on that list. Fact. Because these are not facts. These are just emotionally comforting, make-believe stories that you, for reasons of mental dysfunction, think are worth taking seriously. None of this is difficult to figure out, yet people like Eric continue to believe. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with these people?
But in reality, Christ was not crazy, and Christianity is not kooky.
You can't prove that either of those statements are true. You can't prove that Jesus, the Jesus specifically described in the Bible, ever existed, and you certainly can't prove the second because that's a value judgment at best. Because here's the reality. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you have faith in. It matters what you can prove. It matters what you can provide objective evidence for. And you notice that Christians, and they're certainly not alone in this, but they can't prove a damn thing. And they don't care that they can't prove a damn thing. Because this isn't about intellect, it's about emotion. And people who operate like that consistently, they're nuts.
The Bible is absolutely believable.
Not in any way, shape, or form. Crazy people say that about the voices in their head. All right, you people think you hear voices sometimes too, right? Game, set, and match, Eric.
The whole matter of miracles is really quite simple and yet profound. Admittedly, if no supernatural God exists, then the miracles of the Bible are make-believe. The Bible itself is merely a work of fiction, and Christians are very naive.
And where is your evidence that a supernatural God exists? Anything? Anything at all? I mean, come on, you have to have something, don't you? But of course you don't. Therefore, in the complete and utter absence of any evidence for your premise, your conclusion falls apart. But what else is new?
However, if an omniscient, omnipotent, supernatural being does exist, then he could work any number of supernatural miracles which are in harmony with his divine will.
But you haven't proven that to be true, have you? You can't play games of what if, and then pretend that any remote possibility that you favor for emotional reasons must be true because you really wish that it was. That's not how rational thinking works. You don't just get to pick the option that you like because you like it. You actually have to show that the option is factually defensible and demonstrable, and you haven't done any of that. You can't do that. You don't even try to do that. So we're right back to delusion. Someone, please, point out where I'm wrong.
If there were no universe, and he chose to create one, he could speak it into existence.
Prove it. Go ahead. Show us this amazing power and provide demonstrable examples of it happening. Again, your beliefs don't mean a thing without corroboratory evidence. And you don't seem to have any. So get back to work and come up with something worthwhile. Otherwise, you're just an idiot.
If he wanted to put on human flesh and dwell among mankind for a time, the all-powerful Creator could choose to interact with his creation face to face.
If the flying spaghetti monster wanted to use her magical noodly appendages to do anything, then certainly she could. But that doesn't mean that she did. You notice the religious spending a lot of time saying, if, and then assuming that it actually happened, right? There's a whole lot that needs to go on between if this is true and this is actually true. But you seem to be missing that. Why? Because you don't care.
If there were no written revelation from him to mankind, he could certainly make that happen.
And how do you know that's what actually happened? Because that same case can be made for any religion. If Krishna wanted mankind to know, yada yada yada, whatever he said, and poof, we've got the Vedas. Or if we're supposed to know about the evil body thetans, then poof, we get Scientology and Dianetics and all that other crazy Scientologist stuff. Just because it can theoretically happen, that doesn't mean that it actually did happen, and you need to provide evidence that it actually did happen as you describe. When do you think we're going to get any of that? Anything. Anything at all. At least give it a shot.
He could ensure that writers of his choosing penned what he wanted mankind to know. If he wanted mankind to know that he created the world and everything in it in 6 days, he could tell them.
Yet you still can't show that any of that ever happened. That's a whole lot of ifs, and you haven't shown that one ever happened in reality. If a frog wore elevator shoes, it wouldn't bump its ass when it hopped. But frogs don't wear elevator shoes, so none of that was meaningful at all. You'll notice how many theists make a bunch of if statements, and then simply assume that if really means because. Because this happened, yada yada yada. But that's not how rational people operate. If doesn't mean because. It means if. And there's a whole lot of work that needs to be accomplished before you can accept that it actually happened. Do something, Eric! Stop being dumb!
If he wanted his human creation to know about some of the miracles he worked through the millennia, again, he could communicate such information through his chosen, inspired writers. In short, if God exists and if the Bible is his word, then genuine followers of Christ aren't crazy at all.
But you have to get there first, and you're not even trying. The only way to show that you're not crazy is to prove that there is a God, and that the Bible is his inspired word. How about it? Where is your evidence for any of that? Because faith doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't matter how strongly you believe. The only time that it is proper to accept a claim as true is when that claim has been demonstrated objectively to be a fact. So where is that? Because otherwise, you are the living definition of delusion. This really isn't that hard to understand.
Since the evidence actually indicates that God does exist and the Bible is his inspired word.
And where exactly is that evidence? Go ahead and present it. Put up or shut up. Of course, Eric won't because he can't, because there is no evidence to support his delusional claims. He wants it to be true, therefore, because he runs absolutely everything in his head through his insane religious filters, absolutely everything just happens to look like it came from God because he really wants it to. But again, that's just not how this works. You actually have to be able to present the specific evidence for evaluation by those who aren't already part of your cult, who won't take your assumptions seriously without proof. But you have absolutely nothing to present. So you make these ridiculous assertions and throw out claims that you have evidence, and then people ask you to present it. You can't. And the second that happens, everything you believe comes crashing down around your ears like a house of cards.
Then those who followed this evidence to its logical conclusion have reasonably concluded that the miracles of the Bible make perfect sense.
No, it doesn't. Of course, the insane things that crazy people believe always makes perfect sense to the crazy people themselves, so it's hardly a surprise that you feel that way too. That's why this isn't about your feelings. It's about your objectively demonstrable evidence. What you feel doesn't matter one bit. It's what you can show that does. Get to work.
In reality, the highly irrational position is atheism. Naturalistic atheism contends that matter came from nothing.
No, we don't. You just made that up, just like you make up a lot of things because you can't deal with reality. We don't contend that at all. You do. You think your imaginary friend poofed everything into existence out of nothing. Read your damn Bible. You know, creation ex nihilo. That's your position, not ours. Get it straight.
Yet no such thing has ever been observed to happen naturally. Atheism says that biological life came from non-life, yet science has known for many decades that in nature life only comes from pre-existing life.
Except we've already shown that that's not true. We've known for decades that amino acids can come into existence through wholly naturalistic means. We understand how it happens, and we've even made simple life forms in the lab from wholly natural bits, proving that it can be done. Now, where is your evidence for God again? I seem to have missed that. Please provide your proof. We'll wait.
Think about it. Christians are supposedly crazy for believing that a supernatural God could supernaturally cause water to flow from a rock. Yet, atheistic evolution contends that water evolved on Earth over millions of years.
Water didn't evolve. Are you fucking stupid? Wait, don't answer that. We already know. He's just proving that he's crazy or completely ignorant or both. Mostly both, I guess. And this is just Eric proving just how crazy, ignorant, and dishonest he actually is. Because absolutely everything that he's saying can be easily proven wrong with a 30-second Google search. But he doesn't care. Reality is scary, remember? And Eric is insane.
How is it exactly that Christians are the unreasonable ones for believing that the omnipotent God of the universe once miraculously used a donkey to speak intelligible words to a man, when atheistic evolution gets by with peddling the supposed fact that donkeys evolved from fish that flopped out of water millions of years ago?
You're just dumb, Eric. No matter what your mental state might be, you are just ignorant beyond all comprehension. And let's be honest, that's not at all uncommon. We really need to get back to the two options that I've suggested. Either the religious are dumb or they're dishonest. No one's really been able to come up with a workable third option, although I think we may have found one. They believe things that are simply untenable in reality for emotional reasons, and then ignore all of the evidence that the things that they have faith in are absolutely ridiculous. Because, once again, they just don't care. This isn't about finding the truth, it's about finding emotional comfort. They can't think rationally about their beliefs, and they won't go find out why they're wrong. So they're either ignorant, which seems to be very likely, or they already know that it's all BS, and they're trying to hide that fact from their followers, which also seems pretty damn likely. Or, the third option I was talking about, they're crazy. And I guess, that can be the third option in our equation. So, maybe our answer is, it's all three. What do you think?
If God, who created Adam's ear in the beginning, chose to reattach a severed ear of one of Adam's descendants, that's purportedly preposterous.
Because you're working from the bald assertion and blind faith that God exists in the first place. See, he's doing exactly what I predicted he'd do. If doesn't become because just because you want it to. You have to actually have the evidence that shows that your proposition actually happened. And where is that evidence, Eric? Come on, find it for us. Prove that your God is real. Faith means nothing.
But believing that ears just somehow evolved naturally over millions of years, as atheists contend, is supposedly reasonable.
Considering all of the overwhelming evidence that we have that it happened that way, yes. But that's the difference between lunatics like Eric and rational people. We care about the evidence. We don't care how the facts make us feel because our feelings are ultimately irrelevant. We only care what the best supported ideas in the real world are and how we reach them and how we determine which ones are superior. But Eric doesn't live in the real world, does he? He lives in a fantasy land in his head. He clearly has some kind of dissociative disorder. What's in his head is a lot more comforting to him than what's actually real. He's just making a case for Christians like him actually having some real-world mental aberration.
In truth, when genuine biblical Christianity and naturalistic atheism are compared and contrasted, one proves to be perfectly rational.
And it isn't yours. I've already taken apart absolutely everything that you've had to say, and your side, like it or not, comes up looking utterly insane. No evidence for anything, no rational thought to present, no ability to track your beliefs from fact to belief, because you don't care about any of that. You only care about your emotional comfort, which has led your brain to systemic, catastrophic failure. You don't know how to make rational decisions. You don't know how to care about the truth. You only want to live in your fantasy land and pretend that somehow, some way, you've got it all right. And you're all wrong.
If God exists and the Bible is His Word, Christianity makes perfect sense.
If. If means nothing. Prove that it's true objectively, or stop making yourself look like an idiot. Unfortunately, Eric doesn't really know how to do either, does he?
Whether you are an atheist, a skeptic, or even a Christian who is struggling with doubt, why not consider the many evidences which reveal that real Christianity is a reasonable religion?
Present them! I mean, seriously, it can't be that hard, can it? But Eric has no interest, and what he's really doing here isn't reasonable. It's pure rationalization. See, I don't know if Christians are crazy here or just stupid and gullible, but I went looking, and according to the dictionary, crazy is not mentally sound, marked by thought or action that lacks reason. And that absolutely describes the religious, doesn't it? So, under that definition, yes, they absolutely are crazy. There's really no other option. We can safely declare every theist on the planet to be definitionally insane. So, let's change gears and look at what it means to be sane, shall we? Because according to the dictionary, the definition of sane is proceeding from a sound mind to be rational. That absolutely does not describe the religious when it comes to their religion. Now, outside of their faith, the religious might be generally fine, but the second that they get into that dark compartment in their heads containing their religious beliefs, all bets are off. There may not be something physically wrong with their brains, but their cognitive functions with regards to their religions are simply not working properly. And that is a problem. That's why I've described religion as a mind poison. It does damage to people's cognitive faculties. It fundamentally changes the way that they think with regard to their religious beliefs. And like I've said, it's not the only mental poison out there. Anything that causes you to go off the rails and consider emotion to be more important than intellect, all of that needs to be flushed from your brain. It's dangerous. It makes you dumb. And we've got enough dumb people in the world already.